A career-altering slap, working in the tub, and falling in love with her own character. Margot Robbie burst into the public eye with The Wolf of Wall Street, and she's been blazing a trail through Hollywood ever since. Auditions are often nerve-wracking for actors anyway, but it's a whole other level when you're screen testing opposite Leonardo DiCaprio in front of Martin Scorsese. For Margot Robbie, she was simply happy to know that Scorsese had seen her audition tape, let alone be invited to audition with DiCaprio. As she told Harper's Bazaar, she felt pressured to stand out in front of her idols, and as the audition was nearing its end, she made a hefty decision, revealing, "I walk up really close to his face and then I'm like, maybe I should kiss him. When else am I ever going to get a chance to kiss Leo DiCaprio ever?" Robbie didn't do it, but came up with something else. She slapped him instead. That, according to Scorsese, scored her the part. Moments after she left the room, just as she was starting to regret it, she was called back in and enthusiastically offered the role. Although the slap was unscripted, it certainly taught Robbie to be bolder about her on-screen acting choices. Years later, when she worked with Brad Pitt on Babylon, she convinced director Damien Chazelle to let her spontaneously kiss Pitt on screen, despite being called out by Chazelle for just wanting to kiss her co-star. As Robbie confessed to Nadine Macaluso prior to filming The Wolf of Wall Street, she was initially hesitant about the project, considering the amount of nudity that would be required of her. In fact, the actor almost had to turn the role down, both because she was locked into her contract with Pan Am, but also because she couldn't connect with the character beyond the nudity. Robbie thought that her character Naomi was just a one-dimensional gold digger. However, she found her in with Naomi by dialing into the character's rage, specifically toward DiCaprio's Jordan Belfort in her audition, telling the Sydney Morning Herald, "She's all and vinegar. She's not taking from anyone. She's wielding that power over him and bringing him to his knees. That's badass." Robbie ended up being the one arguing for doing full frontal nudity in the now iconic nude scene, despite Scorsese offering to let her wear a robe. The way she saw it, Naomi was laying it all out for Jordan in a way that was actually quite powerful and brave. The least Robbie could do, she felt, is channel an ounce of that bravery in front of the camera. Despite The Wolf of Wall Street being Robbie's first mainstream project, she learned early on that the key to good filmmaking is collaboration. During a Q&A for the BAFTAs, Robbie dove deep into the level of input she had on The Wolf of Wall Street. This was especially integral for one scene in the film, where a fight between Naomi and Jordan leads the latter to crashing a car with his daughter inside. As Robbie explained, the scene was originally shorter, but a brainstorming session with Scorsese and DiCaprio the night before shooting completely changed it. She told Deadline, "Our brilliant first AD Adam Somner was probably tearing his hair out because out of nowhere we were like, so we're gonna need to break the garage door of someone's house, break a car window, and destroy a couch." As Robbie had learned from her audition, Scorsese was receptive to her ideas, no matter how spontaneous or DiCaprio endangering they were. It didn't take long for Margot Robbie to explode into the mainstream following her performance in The Wolf of Wall Street. In fact, many were surprised to learn that she was Australian, considering how pitch-perfect her Brooklyn accent was in the film. It was even named by Vanity Fair as one of the best New York accents ever heard on screen.
So I presume you're Italian?
On my dad's side, I'm also Dutch, German, English. I'm a mutt.
Robbie's performance was praised right down to the line ratings, while others rightfully predicted her rise to stardom. Even publications like The Guardian, which criticized the film's length and portrayal of Belfort, singled out Robbie as one of the film's highlights. While Robbie was snubbed for major award nods, the actor walked away with a trophy from the Empire Awards for Best Female Newcomer, and also received nominations at the MTV Movie and TV Awards and Critics' Choice Awards. Robbie told Vanity Fair that she hit a real dark patch after The Wolf of Wall Street came out, and even thought about quitting acting, confessing, "Something was happening in those early stages and it was all pretty awful, and I remember saying to my mom, I don't think I want to do this. And she just looked at me, completely straight-faced, and was like, darling, I think it's too late not to." Thankfully, Robbie followed her mom's advice and persisted. Despite feeling much more confident in her ability to handle celebrity, Robbie has still been critical over the invasions of privacy that occur, particularly in Australia with its much more lenient laws against paparazzi. She's admitted that it can be hard at times to not be overwhelmed by the stress and pressure that comes from being in the entertainment industry, especially given how busy it can get. Thankfully, at this point, she doesn't have any regrets, least of all about The Wolf of Wall Street. The years immediately after The Wolf of Wall Street saw Margot Robbie become an in-demand actor. Her celebrity status became just as large as her characters on screen, thanks to both the attention she got from Scorsese's 2013 film as well as her cameo appearance in the 2015 Adam McKay movie The Big Short. Robbie was one of many celebrities who cameoed in the film, breaking the fourth wall to explain financial concepts to the audience in ways that were a little more attention-grabbing than, say, watching CNBC. In Robbie's case, she's featured in a bubble bath drinking champagne as she explains subprime mortgages.
It's the easiest day of work I've ever done in my life.
Right.
It likely didn't take much to convince Robbie to shoot the scene, but considering how quickly it came after The Wolf of Wall Street, it meant a lot for her to be declared a pop culture icon so soon. While the years following The Wolf of Wall Street were prosperous for Robbie's career, the actor felt creatively stifled by a lot of the roles she was offered, most of which were very similar to her role as Naomi. Even though Robbie was just 24 years old at the time, she wanted to create her own opportunities for stronger female roles. As Josie McNamara, her friend and fellow producing partner, told Variety, she was at a place in her career where she had the ability to set up a company and wanted to support other female creatives and give them the platform she was getting herself. Alongside her future husband, Tom Ackerley, and friends McNamara and Sophia Kerr, Robbie founded the production company Lucky Chap Entertainment. The production company has been the main vehicle for Robbie-led movies like I, Tonya, Birds of Prey, and Barbie, as well as other notable films like Promising Young Woman and Saltburn. The company has been integral in putting more women in front of the camera, while also championing roles for women behind it as directors, writers, and crew members. Similar to how she initially felt about her character in Wolf of Wall Street, Robbie felt some trepidation when she signed on to David Ayer's 2016 film Suicide Squad to play Harley Quinn. She admitted to having reservations about playing the notorious Joker accomplice who is madly in love with the Batman villain, mostly regarding the character's depth. In an interview with the Chicago Tribune, Robbie expressed that she didn't connect with the role immediately, saying, "I just didn't understand how she could be such a badass and then fall to pieces over some guy. Fans seem to really love that about her." After some recommendations from her acting coach, however, Robbie began looking at the character through the lens of toxic, codependent relationships. From that point on, Robbie not only fell in love with Harley Quinn, but also felt an extreme amount of pressure to do her justice, given that this was the character's first live-action cinematic portrayal. It also helped that she already had experience with the Brooklyn accent that Harley is known for.
What was that? I should kill everyone and escape? Sorry. The voices.
As Robbie's star continued to rise throughout the 2010s, she began to feel disdain towards the way Hollywood had begun to portray her as a sex symbol. She thought that the label of blonde bombshell undermined her work as an actor, telling the Chicago Tribune, "I really hate that you can do a project with some of the best filmmakers in the world, and the whole thing gets completely swept aside with one comment like, 'Blonde bombshell sizzles the screen.'" As the entertainment industry has proven time and time again, however, the best way to overcome such a label is by making fun of it. Robbie got a chance to do that in 2016 when she hosted Saturday Night Live, which featured many sketches that allowed her to use her beauty for the purposes of humor. One example was the sketch Live Report, in which Robbie played the stunningly gorgeous wife of Mikey Day's mediocre character, which befuddled a news reporter.
"He's married to the Lord's mistress, and he's wearing Crocs with socks."
Another sketch, The Librarian, found Robbie playing a sexy librarian who turns out to be a lot less attractive than library patrons expected her to be. The episode certainly proved that Robbie could do much more than just be a bombshell. Margot Robbie spent a long time after Wolf of Wall Street trying to shed its reputation. As she told Wonderland magazine, "I was acutely aware that the line in the screenplay was 'the hottest blonde ever.' I'm clearly not the hottest blonde ever. I was just terrified that people would see the movie and think, ugh, she's not that great." In the years after this Scorsese film, Robbie sought roles that would challenge not only her, but the audience, which led her to the biopic I, Tonya. Portraying controversial figure skater Tonya Harding allowed Robbie to play a role that was about more than just her looks. Her preparation to play Harding involved a higher level of commitment than Robbie had undertaken in her career to that point, with months of studying figure skating and Harding's accent. Not only did Robbie walk away from I, Tonya with maybe her best performance to date, but it also made her a first-time Oscar nominee for Best Actress the following year. Robbie certainly considers herself lucky for the opportunity of getting to work with Leonardo DiCaprio, telling People magazine, "He has always been my favorite actor, and he became this wonderful big brother. He took me under his wing and always looked out for me, which is really nice." Still, she considered working with DiCaprio a challenge because he was acting at such a level that Robbie had to elevate her game. Robbie has now had the pleasure of working with DiCaprio twice, given that they both appeared in Quentin Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. In 2023, Robbie both produced and starred in the blockbuster hit Barbie, a film that saw her much more involved behind the scenes even before she ever stepped into the character's high heels. Robbie initially signed onto Barbie as a producer and had no intention of playing the title role until director Greta Gerwig signed on. Even then, she didn't think she could pull it off without Gerwig's encouragement and collaboration. Nowadays, Robbie credits The Wolf of Wall Street with paving the path for her success with Barbie, telling Deadline in anticipation of the Scorsese film's 10-year anniversary, "It feels like this past decade has been wild, far beyond anything I could ever have dreamed for myself. If that film showcased Margot Robbie as Hollywood's next big talent, getting to make Barbie was proof that slapping Leonardo DiCaprio might have been the greatest split-second decision in the history of cinema."